Hello everyone, and welcome once again to the Heir's Lair. I'm your host, Jonathan Taylor. And welcome back, for the final time actually, to Demon Storm Remix, a video miniseries where I talk about my rewriting pitch for the Demon Storm book series, originally written by Valerie Storm. When I ended the previous installment, the lead characters had just defeated Raven, one of the long-standing villains of the story, and Guinea was chosen to be the new host of Asuri, the god of shadows. Book seven of this book seven of this series, the end of this rewrite, which coincidentally will see the most extensive rewrite of any individual book, will start with Guinea honing or getting accustomed to his new powers, figuring out what exactly it is that he can do, not only with shadows but also with their realm, or the realm in which they reside. As he is testing out his abilities, he finds out that a ship bearing the mark of the council, either on its hull, on its sail, or wherever else, has actually landed at a bay close to Raziak town, with the leader of the council himself being in charge of this expedition. This prompts Guinea to take all of his comrades in arms and bring them to Raziak as soon as possible. On the way, however, the leads are intercepted by a party of angels. I will have mentioned angels in the very first video of this mini series. Should be linked up there. They are basically within this rewrite. They are basically creations of the god of virtue, who are uh, who are appointed to the mortal world in order to make sure that any major threats or major disturbances become contained or don't spiral out of control. And the God of Shadows gaining a powerful new host very much counts as the kind of major disturbance they would be deployed for. The leads would go on a short battle with the angels, I imagine, until Ari manages to get through to the angels and tells them that they are actually on a mission of defense, telling them that they are actually trying to protect their town from enemies of the angels. Yes, enemies of the angels, because by this point it will have been established that the council isn't only after demons; it is after everything that they consider has an undue influence over human society. The angels will mostly be convinced that that is the case and leave, but one of them, let's call that angel Cherry, decides to stay with our leads to make sure that they are in fact telling the truth. The leads, along with Cherry, make it back to Raziak, and they exchange pleasantries, and then they exchange other notes and talk strategy, trying to figure out how to most effectively defeat this expedition by the Council of Balance. It becomes quite clear that there are too many of them, and they are too powerfully equipped to deal with head on. So instead, they decide to use asymmetrical hit and run or guerrilla warfare, depending on what term you prefer, in order to whittle down their numbers and make sure that they aren't therefore contain the threat that they pose. And it works quite well, at least initially, with Guinea's new abilities proving to be an excellent multiplier of not just force, but also speed and agility, allowing the leads to take a a broader palette of actions than initially considered possible. At least up until the council is able to figure out what's how Guinea actually moves around and is actually deploying his powers. So they focus on a strategy that directly counters that. And with this new strategy, even though they are diminished in number compared to compared to what they were initially, they still manage to push the good guys back, all the way back to Raziak, where the book's climactic final action sequence is due to take place. The good guys win, obviously, because that's the kind of book I'm writing. However, the moment is still bittersweet because Rufus, Rudolph, and Cherry, among many others, will have still died over the course of the battle. Nevertheless, the defeated council, decides to flee back to their continent because they now see that they don't have because now they don't have the forces they had to that they consider necessary for the goals that brought them on this new continent. And also they have to restructure themselves, given that they lost not just their leader. Guinea himself, I imagine, would have delivered the killing blow over the course of this battle, but also plenty of other powerful, high-ranking members. So so for that reason, they would very much choose to go back. One member of the council, however, I imagine would not go along with them, and I think that council member ought to be Malice, who was introduced with this series at about the same time that the council itself was first discussed within this series, and I imagine her returning to this. Returning or rendezvousing with this council expedition in order to potentially get her revenge on Guinea. When that turns out not to be successful, she flees away from the council and from Raziak and runs into the tree where Veltas, the former god of decay, is imprisoned. Veltas immediately figures out that she is full of a lot of rage, a lot of frustration, and a lot of and a lot of bloodlust. She wants to do damage after everything that's happened to her and has happened around her. And he promises her the power to do exactly that if she manages to release him from his prison. Book 8, the final book of this rewrite, will kickstart with the wedding of Ari and Kari, because yes, their relationship will have also been developing. Even though my rewrite didn't really touch upon it, it is still something that happened throughout this series. And their wedding, I imagine, would be officiated by Rudolph's successor, a character who will have potentially made some appearances so far, but this is where he steps up and where people start noticing him. And I imagine and additionally imagine that this wedding scene would also be a good opportunity to showcase several other characters who will have paired up over the course of this series, including Aurora and Xena, because yes, I think they're them pairing up is a good idea, and I want I want that pairing to be within this rewrite as well. This sweet moment is unfortunately soured by early in the next day when a massive earthquake takes place, and Raziak's demon community walks up to Kari, only addressing her as the catalyst, and asking her to and asking her to guide, to join them on their way to, Veltas, so they may join in his conquest of the in his conquest of the world. It doesn't take a lot for both Kari and her allies to figure out that Veltas has returned, and they decide to go along with this this request that the demons have made, so that they may get to Veltas and destroy him. Raven, who may not be Asuri's host but is still within his domain, we'll see. We'll definitely notice what it is that Kari is intending to do, and even though she is met with a little bit of skepticism, she still wants to present a plan of action for the party. And her plan of action is that Kari should challenge Veltas for command of the army. Why would that be the case? Well, keep in mind, Kari is basically seen as the catalyst, whom she is who she is in fact the host of. So, and if you remember anything about the lore of the the first time Veltas attacked the world, aka the Rising, or the First Rising in this case, then you'll remember that Veltas was not only that Veltas was imprisoned, but also that the catalyst was never really captured. So therefore, one could make the argument that the catalyst, or in this case its host, Kari, actually has a stronger claim over the leadership of the demon army than Veltas himself. So they keep this option. So regardless, the leads keep this option in in their back pocket for now, and then make it and continue on their way to the former god of decay. They rendezvous with him and his army at Briar's Glen, the strongest anti-demon stronghold of the continent, or what's left of it, to be more precise. And it is here that Kari actually decides to go with Raven's plan and issues her challenge. But rather than making it a one-on-one challenge, she instead decides to make it a team battle, with Kari being supported by Ginny, Ari, Aurora, Xena's sisters in shadow bodies, and Raven in a similar shadow body, facing off against Veltas, hosted by Malice, and his 8 generals, who are basically demons granted various magical abilities. Oh, also there are groups of angels that would come in and attack the broader demon army, but that is not distinctly relevant for the for the plot point of this book and of this series, which really revolves around the team battle of the leads of the series facing off against against Veltas and his people. And I don't know if I've specified this already, but the ruins of Briar's Glen will serve as the battlefield. So they get in positions, they start the battle, with both parties eventually getting slowly getting whittled down. Whittled down doesn't mean that they get killed off. Rather, it means that the various members become incapacitated for whatever that means, and it proceeds as such until it's down to the lead trio of Kari, Ginny, and Ari facing off against Veltas by himself within the Briar's Glen's town square, with Veltas finally being defeated by a combined attack of the three. Uh, immediately after that attack, that attack does its effect, or maybe even as it takes its effect, I imagine that the gods of decay and virtue would arrive on scene and do their and at that very that very point, at that very moment, decide to dispel both Veltas and Asuri to make sure that these gods no longer have any kind of physical presence and can no longer therefore present, haha, any kind of threat to the world of the living. That has a few consequences. The most directly noteworthy of which is the fact that Guinea ends up being depowered, because he loses abilities once he loses Asuri for reasons. All of the all of the souls that will have been gathered within the realm of shadows would then move on to their respective afterlives, whatever those may be. And additionally, the demons would snap out of the stupor that led to them, that led to them following Veltas and his drive to conquer the world, and to add a little bit of a narrative symmetry, I think the angels would be given a choice, a choice that was denied to the demons at the end of the first rising, and that choice is they can either go be with their god in in any kind of in the afterlife, or they can choose to stay on Earth and remain mortal, whatever that may look like. So anyway, some of them make their most of them would make their choices one way or another. Then then basically everyone else decides to go home and get back to their lives. With the leads themselves, I imagine potentially debating a little bit what that would actually mean for each of them. This book would also have an epilogue, just like the last book of the original series, and that epilogue would also see Kari introducing her daughter. However, in this rewrite, that daughter is now the heiress of Raziak, and she is formally introduced not just to her broader family, but also to the senior officials of the town. Chief among them being Chief Counselor Fiera, the head of the town's first elected council. Because after everything Raziak will have been through over these, over the course of this series, I imagine they would choose to have a more stable, a broader, leadership structure than simply the Lord and some some associates. And that was it. That was how I imagined books 7 and 8 of the Demon Storm series. The Storm Descends and Fate of the Storm ought to be rewritten. And I've also reached the end of this rewrite in particular. I have to say it was it was quite fun to make. Like I had a lot of toys to play with, and it was very cathartic as well, given I was able to address a lot of the issues I've noticed as I was going through the series and reviewing it. Now, that is not to say that that line is not in any way meant to be a condemnation of the original series. I'm not trying to say I'm not trying to compare my my writing ability to that of Valerie Storm. I am not I'm not that kind of petty, and I really hope whatever audiences both me and her have don't really push us towards that level of pettiness. I simply wanted to see what I could do if I had the if I had the same resources as her, and admittedly had some fewer limitations than she may have had. And yeah, I can now safely say that I've indulged that desire. And if you've enjoyed seeing me indulge in that desire, well then please like the video, maybe even share it wherever you think other people will also like the video. If there is anything you'd like to add, either to my rewrite or to the books that inspired it, that's what the comment section is for. And if you want to see when my next video gets released, well then please subscribe. And ideally also ring the bell or do whatever else YouTube will ask of you in order to keep you notified. My books, the first of my own Heir to the Empire series, The Next Generation and Path Not Taken, are available at various book retailers under their respective master links in the description down below. Right past my social media links, which I suggest you check out should you choose to. I also have a second channel where you can hear me talking about narrative analyses, but primarily of works outside the print medium. So if that sounds like it could be of interest to you, then you can go ahead and check it out. Link is I'll link it somewhere in the iCard. If, however, you find yourself less than interested in that and would rather hear more about my thoughts on the print medium and selected works therein, well then I suggest you stay on this channel, where aside from book rewrites, I also occasionally do writing advice videos, but primarily I do a lot of book review videos, and sometimes some videos on other miscellaneous connected topics. If none of what I said sounds like it could be of interest to you, then I suggest you go ahead and do whatever you want the rest of your day, because it is your day after all. And yeah, that was it from me. So until next time, I'm Jonathan Taylor, and this has been the Heir's Lair.